welcome to another episode of The Musician's Gear. Hey everybody, I hope you're doing well. Today we're going to be talking about the 4 things that you need for a home studio. But before we do, make sure to subscribe to the channel. That way you have access to helpful videos and join our growing community. Alright, let's jump into the video. Alright, so the 4 things you're going to need for a home studio is, first, a computer, second, an interface, third, studio monitors, and then fourth, I added, which isn't necessarily always a requirement, but definitely helps, is a MIDI controller of sorts. Alright, so the first thing we're going to be looking at is our computer. I'm using a laptop for this. This is a 2013, which was the last year Apple allowed you to basically beef up your computer by adding more RAM and a better graphics card and all that kind of stuff. You can't do that with the newer models, so that's why I have this one. Alright, the next thing we have is the interface. So this is a Scarlett Solo. Very basic. It has 2 inputs. It has an XLR and then it has a 1/4 inch. Also has headphone jack, monitor control, and then monitors in the back. So very basic. Alright, now the next thing we're going to be looking at, here's our MIDI controller. Okay, very basic, 66 keys. You can play it without being plugged in. It's a very basic keyboard. Has some sounds built into it, but for MIDI control and everything, perfect for what I need. They aren't weighted, which is kind of annoying, but you know, for a cheap setup, gets the job done. And for the last thing, we have our studio monitors right here. These were JBLs, and I have 2 of them. So this wooden thing's kind of in the way. Let's see if I can get a better shot. There you go. You can kind of see it right here. So yeah, I have 2 of these. So you can see together, this all makes a little home studio. I also got some sound absorption back here, but you don't need that. I also have this big monitor up here, which you don't necessarily need, but I like to have. I plug my laptop into it. It makes it easier for editing and stuff like that. Moving on to now how they all go together. Alright, so what I usually like to do to start my setup for the day or for my home studio, for whatever it may be, is I plug in my monitors first, and then I connect my monitors to my interface before I plug in my interface. And the reason for this is you don't get that popping sound if you have your interface plugged in already to your computer. So, what we're going to do now is look in the back. There's left and right, and we're going to plug in both of the monitors. So, let's do that right now. So here's my little interface. It's not plugged into the computer yet, so I can kind of pull it wherever, but I'm going to put it right here. I'm going to find, this is the right, plugged in my right, then use my left, plug in the left. Alright, so now I have my monitors plugged in. The next thing I'm going to do, which it looks like this got unplugged, so I'm going to plug that in. I'm going to plug the interface now into my computer, my little laptop right here. I usually do it on the side that's closest to it, just makes the most sense. Make sure this monitor's turned down all the way. Alright, so now I have it plugged in. And you can see now it says it's connected to my computer, the little green light here. You might not be able to see it very well from the camera, how close you are. So, now we got our interface plugged to the computer and our monitors connected to the interface. So that should allow us to do basically most things we need to do. The last thing really now is just to plug in our MIDI controller, which is pretty much the same concept. You just have the USB, if that's what it requires for your keyboard, and then you just plug it into another open slot, USB slot on your computer. So right here is the control for the MIDI controller for the keyboard. Cable, I'm going to plug it in. So now I've plugged it in. and now it should all be set to go. And the nice thing is, if you have a Mac, your interface doesn't require a driver to be downloaded for it to basically communicate with your computer. If you have a Windows computer, you will have to download a driver for the interface. So make sure that you do that before you start setting all this up, or else it won't communicate. You may have it all set up correctly, but it just can't communicate to your software and to your computer that you have a device connected. So go to whatever manufacturing company that you bought it from. So the Scarlett Solo is made by Focusrite, and Focusrite's website will have all the drivers. You just find exactly what interface you have, and then you download that. So make sure you do that. And now what we're going to do is I'm going to pull up Logic Pro X. Alright, so what we're going to do now is we're going to test everything and make sure it works correctly. So a good way of doing this is we're going to plate the keyboard or the MIDI controller, and we're going to set up a track for it and put a virtual instrument to it, and we're going to make sure that first this is being sent to the computer that's reading it as a device. Then second of all, we're going to turn up the monitors on the interface, make sure the sound's coming out of that. And that will be a good way to test not just the MIDI controller but the interface, and make sure the interface is communicating with the monitors and the computer and the software. So let's do that real quick. So I have a track made right here. I'm going to change it to a synthesizer. Let's go to a pad, and let's do analog waves. Why not? And so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to start playing the piano and see if it all works. Oh, I did one thing wrong. So I got to turn up my monitors on my interface. Voila! Alright, so we know it's working now, which is good. So that means we set up everything correctly, and now you got a little home studio. If you want to record audio, you use the audio device here, the interface. And with this, you just plug in XLR or quarter inch, whatever it requires. If you're using guitar, it's a quarter inch. If it's a microphone, you're going to be using XLR. Alright, now that everything's set up, you are ready to start working on your recording projects. If anything went wrong or I explained something kind of confusing, please let me know in the comments down below. I will help in any way I can, and hopefully I'll see you guys in a future video. If you enjoyed the video, please make sure to subscribe, like, comment, all that good stuff. It really does help me out. And hopefully I'll see you guys in another video. Take care.